This is the anthem. Here's what you came for.
Welcome to the Disney Beat, a podcast brought to you by thedisinsider.com. My name is Sean Nyberg, and I will be covering all of the Disney headlines to keep you informed as you start your week.
Happening right now.
Hello there, this is Sean Nyberg, and this podcast is being recorded on the evening of Sunday, December 5th, 2020. All right, let's dive into the news. We absolutely must start by wishing Walt Disney a happy birthday. The man who started the most beloved company in the entire world would have turned 119 years old over the weekend. Walt was born in 1901 in Chicago, Illinois. Over his lifetime, he brought us characters like Mickey and Minnie Mouse, Donald Duck, Goofy, and Pluto. He retold classic stories using revolutionary animation techniques like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella, Peter Pan, and Sleeping Beauty. He had great success in live action with hits like Mary Poppins and Davy Crockett, and quite possibly his biggest success that continues to this day was his creation of Disneyland. This rewrote the script for amusement parks and brought on entire new meaning to themed entertainment. While Walt's genius is missed, his legacy is so strong that it continues to live on decades after his death. Happy birthday, Walt. Thank you for everything. Now, changing gears, let's talk about the news surrounding these iconic theme parks. So, it was announced this week that Disney characters will be returning to many of the Walt Disney World resort hotels. These in-person characters have been removed after the phased reopening began at Walt Disney World this summer. For safety reasons, they did not want people congregating in groups to meet them. After 6 months of continued success in their efforts to keep guests and cast members safe, many of these characters will return. The plan thus far will be to have the characters appear at many of the hotels for brief visits, and there are even some reports that they will be driving through using a themed ATV type vehicle. So like most of the phased reopening, this change will occur slowly and will proceed safely, but it's always good news to hear that Mickey and the gang will be back. So yeah, this is going to be coming back to the theme parks, resorts over at Walt Disney World and the hotels. And I think this is great. And it's getting a lot of really good feedback. You know, I posted online at the Disney Insiders Facebook page, and people seem really excited about this. You know, just something to remind us of the good old days. So we also learned that Disney will be donating the money that guests have tossed into the various fountains and wishing wells around the Walt Disney World Resort to a Central Florida homeless advocacy group called Coalition. Every year, Disney donates the money collected from the fountains and the wishing wells and donates them to Florida charities. This year, the total amount collected was just over $20,000, which is a pretty hefty sum considering the Walt Disney World Resort was closed for nearly a quarter of the year. Speaking of closed parks, Disneyland in Anaheim remains closed due to COVID-19. Last month, the resort reopened part of Disney's California Adventure, specifically the Buena Vista Street area. This opened up many restaurants and dining opportunities for guests. What it actually did was it increased the downtown Disney district size, and by doing so, they increased the capacity. Since this is classified as an outside mall compared to a theme park, this was allowed to open. Well, California is in the midst of another stay-at-home order, just I think yesterday or the day before, as the COVID-19 pandemic is hitting epic milestones all around the country. This past week, if you didn't know this, COVID-19 actually surpassed heart disease as the number one cause of death in the United States. So due to these new lockdowns in California, much of downtown Disney is having to close back down. There is no dining whatsoever, inside or outside. Takeout ordering is allowed where available, as long as the food is consumed outside of the park. So you can take it back to your car or back to your house, but you just can't sit around and eat it like you used to be able to for the last month. Many of the cast members brought back last month were restaurant workers. You know, they worked in the kitchen, they worked, cleaning up, they worked as servers. So these tightening restrictions have actually put a lot of these workers who were brought back last month back on furlough, which is horrible. We feel horrible here at the Disney Beat and at the Disney Insider. We just are really looking forward to sometime next year when things can start getting back to normal and we can start having some of that joy, back at all the parks. And sadly, I'll get through these quick, but the last 2 Disney park stories are COVID-19 related. First, this past week, Hong Kong Disneyland closed for the 3rd time due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The park closed last January as the first cases were discovered in China. They reopened in early summer, only to shut back down again midsummer and then reopen again in September. They've had to close again as cases spike in the Hong Kong region, and there's no word when they'll reopen. And finally, it was announced that the Disney Cruise Line has canceled departures through the end of February 2021. This is not a huge surprise. The cruise industry has been completely hobbled due to this pandemic, but Disney just made it official. If your trip was canceled due to this change, contact Disney for a full refund, or you can choose to receive a credit for a future Disney cruise. While the current state of the cruise line is bleak, there are a lot of strong indications that people are eager to get back out there. With late 2021 and 2022 bookings are actually way up right now. So people are, feeling pretty confident that by then things will be safe. And, this division, the Disney Cruise Line division, has become one of Disney's highest moneymakers. And they consistently score near perfectly when it comes to customer satisfaction. It's amazing. They win awards all the time. Of course, Disney is synonymous with amazing customer service, their parks and their experiences, their retail outlets, the Disney stores, that are outside of even the parks. They're just so known for their customer service. But there's something with the Disney Cruise Line that they just, even where Disney has set the bar, the Disney Cruise Line has actually just set it one notch higher. It's pretty amazing if you look at a lot of the feedback. So, both the company and the fans are eager for these ships to sail once again. And Disney has actually 3 new cruise ships that are being built right now, and they're set to be delivered in 2022, 2023, and 2024. So, Disney likes the money they get and likes the good publicity they get from these cruises, and the fans really, really enjoy them. I also just wanted to note, the Disney Cruise Lines didn't have any known COVID-19 outbreaks associated with their ships before they docked them early on in 2020. Now, you'll likely remember, if you're paying attention to all the news in the crazy early months, that there were some other rival cruise lines that had some cruise ships with some outbreaks. So while none of them were associated with Disney, this is me editorializing here, but I personally think that, there might be a little hesitation to get back on cruise ships just because they were sort of the focus of some of the initial larger outbreaks, that even when things are a little bit, even when the recovery from the pandemic has begun and we're in the middle of it, I think there might be a slight hesitation. But, that doesn't really have anything to do with the Disney cruise lines themselves. I just think there might be an overall hesitancy with any cruise line. But, I think Disney has a very strong following, and their cruise lines they're always sold out, and they're just a really big part of the company. So they're really looking forward to coming back. And now we move over to Disney Plus. So it is a new month. This is recorded on December 6th. Which means that new shows and specials are coming to Disney Plus for December. While there are too many to list here, you can find the entire list over at thedisinsider.com. I wrote up a list, all the ones every week that are being released. However, there are a few notable releases. This past Friday, we saw the live action Mulan released for free, so no longer requiring an additional fee to watch. Also, this last Friday, the Disney Plus original Christmas film Godmothered was released. Friday of this week, High School Musical, the musical The Holiday Special, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and the Disney Plus original football film Safety will be released. The following Friday, December 18th, we will see Into the Woods, the new Disney Plus dance-focused docuseries On Point, and the highly anticipated Mandalorian Season 2 finale will be released. Finally, the following Friday, Christmas Day, Friday the 25th, Disney has one of the biggest releases on their service ever. The Disney Pixar movie Soul. The film was intended to be released as last year in movie theaters, but it was moved to Disney Plus. And it will be available for free with a subscription to Disney Plus, but for free, no additional cost like Mulan live action was. And the reviews so far have been honestly some of the best of any recent Disney Pixar film. It was directed by the gentleman who did Inside Out, and it's got just a lot of really amazing writers and animators and producers and directors and voice actors. I know she has a small role, but my favorite, Tina Fey, is one of the comic reliefs in the film. So look for that coming out streaming on December 25th for free on Disney Plus. Rogue One star Diego Luna, who portrayed Cassian Andor in the Star Wars film Rogue One, will be returning to the role in an upcoming Disney Plus prequel. It was reported this past week that filming has begun on this project. Many of the series details are being kept under wraps. However, we do know that the project is being aimed as a spy thriller. Ooh, a spy thriller. Production is expected to continue through early of next year in London, and is being directed by Black Mirror's Toby Haynes. Disney Plus has yet to give the series an official release date. We're also hearing some rumblings about a new animated Star Wars series being developed for Disney Plus. This series will take place during the era of the High Republic. And for those unfamiliar with this era within the Star Wars universe, it was considered to be a golden and peaceful age for both the Galactic Republic and the Jedi. It should be noted that next month Disney is set to publish a brand new series of books that take place during this High Republic time period. So these books we know are going to feature all new characters. So there are a lot of people wondering if they're going to be connected. While there are no official reports that these books are linked to the possible new series, the timing does seem noteworthy. Also, just a really quick note about that last story. There's been a lot of Star Wars content being produced right now for Disney Plus. Obviously, the most notable is The Mandalorian, but there's a lot of other stuff, a lot of other side stories, prequels, and almost all of it, I think all of it, with the exception of the Lego Holiday Special, are live action. So this news of an animated series potentially in the works for Star Wars was a big deal for a lot of people, because a lot of people really do love animation, and they really love Star Wars animation. I know that the Clone Wars series is a huge fan favorite. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, and you'll be hearing a lot about it on this podcast until it's released. So in some lighthearted Disney Plus Star Wars news, Disney has digitally removed Jeans Guy. You heard that right, Jeans Guy, from his scene from The Mandalorian a few weeks back. So here's a quick backstory. On the November 4th episode of The Mandalorian entitled The Siege, there was a battle scene. Like in every Star Wars movie, show, and book. So fans noticed something very peculiar about this scene, however. A crew member standing in the corner wearing jeans, a t-shirt, and an Apple Watch was caught on camera. And while the mistake was small and unimportant, the fandom ran with it and turned him into a minor celebrity. He was given the nickname Jeans Guy, and fans even created an action figure of his likeness. It only took a few days before Disney caught wind of the story and re-edited the scene, digitally removing Jeans Guy. While fans were upset about this correction, I feel it only adds to the legend. The positive and fun response to this editing oversight is a true testament to how much Star Wars fans love The Mandalorian. Remember, it was only a year or so ago when Game of Thrones had a similar mistake in one of the episodes in their final season. A coffee cup was left on the set during one of the scenes, and it made its way into the final cut. The response to this mistake was not met with laughter and flattering imitation. Rather, it was met with mockery and anger. Fans were already so upset by how the Game of Thrones was wrapping up, they used the incident as a sign that the show was being produced poorly. Star Wars fans, on the other hand, are displaying a rare bit of unanimity in the praise for the series, so the silly mistake heralded a new character. And it's just really amazing. It's fun. It's a funny story, Jeans Guy, and especially people made a action figure for him. But also, it's amazing to compare the different reactions, between the Game of Thrones fans and the Mandalorian fans. They both were editing mistakes, something that wasn't caught on the set, and then when it made it through that, it wasn't caught in post. But Game of Thrones fans were already just so upset with the series and the producers and the directors that they just lashed out, where the Star Wars fans are so happy with The Mandalorian that they ran with it and kind of made it its own thing, which is just really interesting to see. So we got some more casting news for the much anticipated Hawkeye series. Remember Hawkeye? If if it doesn't pop up into your head immediately, then you're probably not a big Marvel fan, but Hawkeye is one of the Avengers. Well, he was in the Avengers movie. He's getting, the character Hawkeye is getting his own series, live action series on Disney Plus. And we got some new casting information about that. So we learned that Vera Farmiga, whom I love, she was in The Conjuring. I believe she was nominated for an Oscar for, is it A Way Up? Nope. One of those. It was the one with, oh my Lord. I'll look it up before I do this. But yeah, Up in the Air, Up in the Air, Up in the Air, Up in the Air. Yep. So anyway, I love her to death. She's amazing. But also The Conjuring. I'm a big horror movie fan, so I loved her in The Conjuring. Also, Florence Pugh was coming on, and she's from Midsommar. You probably know her from Midsommar, and I believe Game of Thrones. Fra Fee from Animals, Tony Dalton from Better Call Saul, and a newcomer, Ms. Cox, and Zahn McLaren, who is in Dr. Sleep. So they have joined the cast, and is also confirmed that previously reported Haley Steinfeld is on board to play Kate Bishop. Jeremy Renner will return as Clint Barton, and the series began filming this past week in New York, and it will move production to Atlanta to finish filming in Atlanta soon. The series is expected to be released in 2022 on Disney Plus. Moving on to other Disney Plus news, after 3 great seasons, it was reported that Disney will not move forward on a 4th season of DuckTales, their animated show that debuted on Disney XD in 2017. It was reported that the show's production has actually been shut down for a while now, with the majority of the primary creative team already working on new projects. So it is odd that Disney has yet to officially make an announcement about the show. While it is clear that a 4th season is not happening, there could be some other direction the characters will go, and Disney is just trying to iron that out before making any announcement. It is worthwhile to note that a Darkwing Duck reboot is in the works, so maybe there are bigger plans for these characters. However, all we know right now is that DuckTales will not see a 4th season. Very sorry for all you DuckTales fans. And there are many of you out there. Like I mentioned earlier, I run the Facebook page for the Disney Insider, and we posted the story, and man, a lot of people coming out of the woodwork who were really big fans of the DuckTales series. So sad news there. Finally on Disney Plus, this is actually kind of cool. So those of us here at the Disney Beat Podcast and those of us at the Disney Insider would like to congratulate Disney on being honored with the Apple Editor's Choice Award for Best Apple TV App of 2020. The company also announced that Disney Plus was the 2nd most downloaded free app for iPads and the 3rd most downloaded free app for iPhones. The number 1 spot in both categories went to the pandemic-boosted app Zoom, obviously. So, if you take away Zoom, really, which was brought into, it was been around, but brought into the forefront because of necessity due to the pandemic. Disney Plus would have been the number 1 downloaded app on iPads, and it would have been the 2nd downloaded app on iPhones. Just so you know, the one above above Disney Plus on iPhones was TikTok. So it went Zoom, TikTok, and Disney Plus on iPhones, and then it went Zoom, Disney Plus on iPads. So it was also announced the same day that Google Play, which is Google's app store, they awarded Disney Plus with the honor of 2020 App of the Year as voted on by their users. So this wasn't like an editorial decision. This was voted on by the users. They beat out other hot apps like Zoom, TikTok, the perennial favorites like YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram. So congrats to Disney Plus. You've brought us a lot of entertainment in a very difficult time. So we're moving over to another streaming service that Disney owns, Hulu. So just like I started with the Disney Plus section, it is a new month, which means new shows and specials are not just coming to Disney Plus, but they're also coming to Hulu. While there are too many to list here, you can find the entire list over at thedisinsider.com. But there are a few notable releases for December 2020. This past Friday, December 4th, Hulu released the original new series, The Hardy Boys. The complete first season was released all at once. So unlike The Mandalorian, where they do it once a week, they released The Hardy Boys entire first season all at once, like Netflix typically does. So viewers can binge it in its entirety. And the rest of the year, we'll see a long list of new movies, including the entire Lord of the Rings franchise, The Da Vinci Code, Con Air, GoldenEye, Any Given Sunday, The Hurt Locker, The Hulk, and the one we have been waiting for, 2006's Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. The list of movies, shows, and specials is very long, so go check it out on the Disney Insider to see if your favorites are being added. Moving on, that was my little transition. Moving on to more Hulu news. One of the best female actors, in my opinion, working today is Elisabeth Moss. And she will continue her ongoing work with the Disney-owned Hulu by starring in the upcoming true crime series, Candy. Candy is set in Texas in 1980 and based on the true story of killer Candy Montgomery and her victim, Betty Gore. So Elisabeth Moss is going to play Candy Montgomery, who, this real life person seemingly had it all. She had a loving husband. She had a good job. She had a daughter and a son. She had a nice house in brand new suburban neighborhood. So why did she kill her friend from church with an axe? We ask that question often, right? Tune in to find out. But you'll have to wait a bit as production hasn't even begun on this series. Moss will also serve as executive producer alongside Lindsay McManus through their Love and Squalor production company, where they recently signed a first look deal with Hulu. Hence why they are going to be releasing the series. If you don't know Elisabeth Moss, she garnered worldwide attention in her award-winning leading role in Hulu's Handmaid's Tale. I loved her in Handmaid's Tale, of course, but also in Invisible Man that came out earlier this year. And she also had a really impactful performance or memorable performance in the Jordan Peele movie Us. And that was it was really good. So I love her. She's great. She's right up there with some of my favorites that are acting today, like Sarah Paulson, who is in the movie that is working as my introduction to the next story. So last week we reported that Hulu's new thriller starring Sarah Paulson, entitled Run, had broken the record by having the most viewers of an original film in its opening weekend. Well, that record lasted only 1 week as Hulu's newest Christmas movie, Happiest Season, broke that record and a few others. The film centers around a same-sex lesbian couple who deal with coming out of the closet and coming home for holidays. The overwhelming viewership is noteworthy due to the fact that holiday movies that center around gay couples are few and far between. The film became Hulu's most watched film, period. So it wasn't just the most watched original Hulu film. It also beat out viewership for acquired films. So other, larger, blockbuster type films that Hulu may have acquired. This film received more viewers in its opening weekend than even the acquired films too. So the film also gave a notable surge in new Hulu subscribers and was the most discussed film on social media. The film was met with positive critical reviews. The fans also gave the film high marks. However, there was some controversy surrounding which characters ended up with who at the conclusion of the film. Of course, by controversy, I mean to say that some fans wished for a different outcome, but it was not a critique of the quality of the film. Happiest Season is on Hulu now, and it stars Kristen Stewart, Mackenzie Davis, Audrey Plaza, and fresh off of the Schitt's Creek sweep at the Emmys, Dan Levy. Now we move on to news about the Walt Disney Company, which kind of sounds weird because all of this is, somehow tied to the Walt Disney Company, but this is news that's about the actual company in terms of the business. So there's been a question hanging around over the decision to start. There has been a question that has been hanging around Disney Plus since they made the announcement they were going to start this streaming service. The question is, would it continue to cater primarily to family-friendly subscribers, or would it also stream the more mature content that Disney owns through purchasing other companies or producing themselves? So far, they have kept Disney Plus fairly sanitized, with the exception of the over the top violence in the Marvel and Star Wars film. And there's violence. It's not glorified. It's really over the top. It's kind of cartoonish. So that's really the only exception. So Disney has a controlling interest in Hulu, as we've talked about, and will soon own the service outright. So over the past year, Hulu has been the home for the more adult-themed content, especially the movies and shows they acquired with the 20th Century Fox purchase. The deal brought thousands of R-rated movies into the company, along with the mature content produced by the cable giant FX. So the system seemed perfect. Family and friendly content goes to Disney Plus, and more mature content goes to Hulu. Disney gets to enjoy the money from two streaming services, and they don't have to sully the highly revered Disney brand. This would provide a perfect buffer between the known Disney products and the more risque shows that Disney owns but doesn't promote as their own. But underneath all of this has been a big question. Will Disney eventually do away with Hulu and put everything under one streaming service, Disney Plus? They would have to design a content filter that would be seamless and keep the adult stuff in front of adults only and keep the family stuff available for all. Recently, Hulu has let go. So we have those things hanging, right? Is Disney Plus going to stay family friendly only? Is Hulu, going to be kind of the dumping grounds? I don't want to say that because it sounds kind of like you're demeaning the content on there, like it's being dumped on Hulu. But is it going to be is that going to be the wedge, right? Like family friendly, Disney Plus, more adult themed, or, even not adult themed, but like slower, just, more adult focused films and series over on Hulu. So that's always been the question. And now, recently, like as in this last week or so, Hulu has let go some of the top executives at their company, leaving many industry watchers to ask if this is a sign that Hulu will soon be subsumed by Disney Plus. The answer is we do not know. While there is a lot of noise out there debating if it would be a good or bad move, in terms of real news, nothing has been announced and nothing has been leaked. Everything's just kind of watching things from afar, seeing if we can note any trends. Disney is undergoing a huge reconstruction of its media division, focusing much of its attention on they call it direct to consumer, which is their Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. So the executive shakeups may just be a part of the larger restructuring, or it could foretell things to come. This Thursday, because this Thursday coming up, December 10th, is Disney's big Investors Day. It will be a 4-hour-long presentation to investors laying out the path forward for the company. If we are going to get an answer to this Disney Plus Hulu combining question anytime soon, it would come this Thursday. If we don't hear anything this week, it likely means they're not planning on merging, period, or they don't plan on merging anytime soon in the next year or two. We will be following the story closely, and I'm going to be actually live tweeting the Investor Day. Actually, I talked about this a little bit later in the podcast, but I'll be live streaming it on Thursday, so we'll know by then. And what I mean by if they don't announce it, then if they're going to announce something that large, because it would be a huge shakeup, and they didn't do it on Investors Day, I don't know when they would do it. Like, this is the time when the entire industry is paying attention to investors. They always kind of do because Disney's such a big player. But last Thursday, Warner Brothers just announced their entire 2021 movie release schedule. They just pulled it from movie theaters, and they're putting it on HBO Max. Okay, let me rephrase that. They're also releasing it at movie theaters at the same day they're going to release them on HBO Max. But I think with the pandemic concerns and everything and the cost, people would probably rather watch it for no additional cost on HBO Max than to go to a theater and spend, $10-20. So what I'm saying is that shook everything up. I mean, I know, was it AMC's shares dropped 15% or something? I mean, it shook everything up, and everyone is watching to see what Disney is going to do moving forward, because they have been the king of the box office receipts for like the last decade, with all the Marvel stuff, all the Starman, all the Marvel stuff, all the Star Wars stuff, all the Pixar, and of course Disney's, Frozen and Moana and Brave and all just everything. They always are on top of everything. So, Warner Brothers has some big stuff that they're going to simultaneously release on streaming, and it's really hurting the industry. But the real big, the kingmaker will be Disney. And so if they decide to move a lot of their stuff to streaming instead of releasing in theaters, it's going to have a huge impact. The movie theater chains are going to have to completely reconstruct themselves, or like they're likely going to, I know a lot of them have already filed bankruptcy. They're going to sell off a lot of their properties. So everyone's watching Thursday. Wall Street, if you look up at any article about Disney on CNBC or anything like that, they're all talking about Thursday. So, Disney, if they plan to be merging Hulu with Disney Plus, it will be announced Thursday. Just because if they don't announce it Thursday, that, like I said, that could mean two things. A, they don't have any plans to do it, and this is just some, fever dream dreamt up by bored industry watchers. Or it just means that they're probably going to do it later, like in a year or two, because they'll have another Investors Day in probably a year or so. Anyway, we'll have a really good idea come Thursday evening what they're going to do. As part of Disney's restructuring of their media division, they also announced that their longtime running music and talk outlet, Radio Disney, will be coming to an end in early 2021. Major cuts are being announced in Disney's older media outlets to free up capital for major reinvestments in new streaming technology. So, there you go. That's an example of some of the cost cutting they're doing. I think a lot of people were bummed just from the nostalgia from Radio Disney, but I think any of the content you'd get from Radio Disney, you can get from, the streaming music services like Apple or Spotify. And so, it's kind of a bummer, but that's just what they have to do. So all of this news sparked a huge uptick in Disney's stock price. In fact, the stock hit an all-time high for the company, peaking at $154.68 a share on Friday, December 4th. Walt Disney is currently feeling the pain from the parks, cruise lines, and movie theaters being closed. The investment community is really impressed with Disney's foray into the streaming wars, becoming one of the two biggest players in just 1 year's time. They also see the pandemic's biggest impact being on Disney's parks, resorts, and experiences, all of which are expected to come back almost immediately after a vaccine is widely available and people start taking it come 2021. Walt Disney is currently needing to cut costs by laying off furloughed cast members from their parks division. Since half of their parks currently are closed and the rest are running at limited capacity, their fiscal future is bright and analysts are very impressed. The COVID-19 pandemic has destroyed not just businesses but entire industries, and Disney's top executives, CEO Bob Chapek, CFO Christine McCarthy, and Executive Chairman Bob Iger all deserve credit for steering this company through unprecedented turbulence. We will keep an eye on the stock price after Thursday's Investor Day to see if the market likes what it sees. Again, I will be covering Thursday's Investor Day for the Diz Insider. I'll be live tweeting the entire event on my Twitter handle at Sean Nyberg, SeanNyberg, at Sean Nyberg. I will write a recap of the event for the website, thedizinsider.com. And finally, I will produce a special Disney Beat podcast Thursday evening. This podcast you're listening to right now, I will be doing a special one Thursday evening, breaking down all of the announcements. And so keep an eye out for that. There will be some announcements made. There could be some major announcements made. We don't know, but this is where they will not just stuff like, seemingly boring, like restructuring news, like, oh, they're gonna, invest this amount of money in this international streaming service to run, blah, blah. But there's a chance they will be announcing release dates for upcoming films, release dates for upcoming series on Disney Plus. There could be some trailers being released. We don't know, but there could be parks news, but I really feel like there isn't going to be, just because there isn't a lot going on, and they pulled a lot of their investment out of some of these park projects until attendance boosts back up sometime next year. So, but there could be. So we'll keep an eye on all that, and I'll be reporting it for you. So final note, this is where I typically end the podcast with a little personal final note. This week's episode was pretty full and had a lot of information, so I'm going to keep this brief. Let's please look out for one another over the next few months. COVID-19, like I said earlier, has become the leading cause of death in the United States this past week, and thousands are dying every day. I know we don't want to hear about it, and I know we're sick of hearing about it, and I know we're getting numb to it, and I know some people don't believe it, but thousands are dying every day. These are family members, these are friends, these are, parents and sisters and neighbors, and just, obviously any type of relationship between humans. So it's just really serious, you guys. And please remember to stay home if you can. If you go outside, please wear a mask and maintain social distancing. We are so close to pushing through to the other side of this thing. We need to amp up our efforts to keep ourselves, our loved ones, and our community safe. We are so close, guys. But, we're not close. If you're one of the hundreds of thousands who will likely die between now and the widespread availability of the vaccine, being close to it doesn't matter, So let's just keep each other safe, keep your loved ones safe, keep your community safe. And on behalf of myself and those of us here at the Disney Beat, along with the Disney Insider, we wish everyone good health and prosperity. With that, I want to say thank you for listening. If you like the show, please rate and review it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen. These ratings really help the show find new listeners. I also ask that you share the podcast with friends and family who love Disney. All stories can be found on thedisinsider.com. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the handle The Diz Insider, or on Facebook by searching The Diz Insider. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Sean Nyberg, all one word. I also co-host the Disney podcast, Walt's Apartment, that comes out every Thursday, and the Disney Parks themed podcast, Extra Magic Hour, which is released every other week. So check those out. Thank you again for listening, and I will see you here again next week for another edition of the Disney Beat podcast. My name is Sean Nyberg. Have a fantastic week.